Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into the Immortal Hulk, and in this case, we're gonna talk about the King in Black one-shot, Black Christmas. And I gotta say, even though this issue doesn't have any dialogue, but it still manages to tell a great story about the reconciliation between two specific identities of Bruce Banner. And when better is it to get something like that than Christmas? Come on. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so within this one shot, it follows up with a lot of what we've been talking about with Immortal Hulk. And before we get started with Black Christmas, I want to kind of bridge the gap a little bit from where we had left off to where we're at now. Because in issue 39, after the death of the Devil Hulk within Banner's mindscape, Banner was then dragged to the below place, leaving Banner and Savage Hulk kind of like in a Home Alone situation, which ultimately got them captured and locked up in the Alpha Flight space station. But from the time back in issue 39, when the leader killed Devil Hulk and took Bruce Banner, Joe Fixit had went off on Savage Hulk, and mainly because it was kinda his fault the way it went down, which is something that Savage Hulk knew, and ever since then he had just been hard on himself because of it. But in true Joe Fixit fashion, he gets them both out of the Alpha Flight space station, because with the restraints that they had, they were designed to hold the Hulk and adjust if he got larger, so Joe was like, alright, let's go smaller. And from there he fights his way through, gets a gun, gets a pair of pants along the way, and he shoots out one of the windows to the space stations to jump back to Earth. Which is one of those things that, anytime I see something like this, it makes me think back to my childhood in those old Incredible Hulk movies, because without a doubt, as a kid I loved the old TV shows with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, but in that one movie when it was Death of the Incredible Hulk, when he died from falling from a plane or a helicopter or whatever it was, as a kid I was always like, no way man, not the Hulk man. And I'll admit, a part of me to this day feels some type of way about that ending. But over the years we've seen a number of times, whether in the comics or in the films, that even the weakest version of the Hulk could do that and be okay. But in this case, after leaving the Alpha Flight space station, he landed in New York on Coney Island, to where immediately he's found by Ben Grimm, who right away goes to his clobbering tactics, because last time he ran into the Immortal Hulk, I believe Hulk was being mind controlled, so for that reason he came at the Hulk thinking that he was still in that uncontrollable destructive mode. And Ben just assumed that the Hulk was on the thin side because he switched up his diet, and I'm not making that up, he said that. But with this being the case, it really took him a while to realize the condition that Savage Hulk was in. And in the middle of this fight, Joe Fixit, he jumps to the surface to protect Savage Hulk, and he lets Ben know, at the end of the day, Savage Hulk is a kid. What's wrong with you? And you could tell Ben felt bad after that. But soon after, they then talk it out, and they share both of their experiences about coming back from the dead, after Joe fills Ben in about a lot of what has happened with the Hulk recently. But towards the end of the conversation, Ben tells Joe, contrary to the Hulk asking to be left alone, reach out to the guy, look after him, because much like Joe said, the Hulk's like a kid, and he needs to know that we're here for him. But after that, Joe kind of goes on about his way throughout New York, and this is what takes us right into the King in Black, to where at this point, Noel has covered the entire Earth, and Eddie Brock has been falling for an entire issue. But it's here where we jump in and we get a glimpse at humanity. During this dark hour in this dark time, we come across this guy who's probably getting gifts for his kids, and my first guess is he probably looted all this stuff, because who's open right now? But either way, we're limited with context, so I can neither confirm or deny. This issue is very much open to interpretation. But as he makes his way, he drops one of the gifts, and when he goes to pick it up, there's the Hulk. And regardless of the Hulk being a lot thinner than what we're used to, even still, it's still a bit of a frightening sight. And when the dude sees the Hulk, he just takes off. And it's possibly because he's afraid of the Hulk, or possibly because he's a thief and he doesn't want to get arrested. The world may never know. But after the guy takes off, the Hulk looks down at this gift, and for Savage Hulk, when he sees this, he just lights up, which is very true to this identity of Banner. With the Savage Hulk who had been molded out of Banner's childhood, it's only natural that at a time like this, he would have a childlike response. And I gotta say, like right here, like you guys over on Discord, you had me rolling because y'all was like literally like legit afraid of a Hulk with no chin. Like it was a whole discussion going on, like you guys are wild. But when he reaches down to pick it up, he's spotted by one of Noel's Grindels, who sees the Hulk and tries to bond with him. And when this happens, the Hulk reaches for the light post and he smashes the Grindel with it, which recently has kind of been like his go-to move, with him recently using a similar tactic on the Thing, using pieces of a broken roller coaster. But in this case, with going up against the symbiote, like your conventional melee tactics just aren't gonna do it, because without a physical host, there's nothing solid that you're actually making contact with. And for that reason, the Grindel continues to make its way to bond with Savage Hulk, but he thinks quick and he grabs the loose wires, sending a current through himself and just frying the symbiote. And really, like with the way that this plays out, I like that Al Ewing wrote this issue without dialogue, because in a way it really feels like this story is being told by the Savage Hulk, who within himself is not a person of many words, and because of that choice of delivery, like this issue really feels like his story. But when he opens the gift, he sees it's like a hairdryer, and you can tell pretty quickly he's not too excited about it. But just after this, a couple of cops show up who probably got the call about an old man stealing gifts, but then when they get there, they just see the Hulk. And Savage Hulk tries to tell them, like with gestures and even still no words, that the whole ruckus and everything was him fighting off a symbiote, but when the Hulk points to it, it's no longer there. And when that happens, they then open fire for whatever reason, and the Hulk just leaps off. But when he lands, it's more or less at this department store named Mantlow's, which is a clear reference to classic Hulk writer Bill Mantlo. And in this case, like the nod isn't as subtle as some of the others that we've seen throughout the Immortal Hulk series, but I like how it's done here because Mantlow's just looks good on top of this store. And I'd imagine the choice for this Easter egg is kind of like what we had seen with Sal Buscema in the recent issue, to where we're getting these nods to previous writers and artists to whom it feels like the Immortal Hulk series is pulling a lot of influence from. But when the Hulk gets here, he sees this toy set in the window, which initially causes him to light up because it reminds him of his childhood. And throughout the Immortal Hulk series, we've talked about a lot of these references to like your younger Banner, to where from a young age he would always build things like this mechanic set because Bruce Banner had developed a high intelligence at a very young age. But for Savage Hulk, this sweet memory goes sour very quickly, and much because what we had seen from Brian Banner, because he believed both that the monster gene had been passed down from his father into his son, and also that Brian's exposure to radiation, it had made its way into Bruce as well. And not to mention that Brian Banner was a drunk and a jerk on top of that. But with Savage Hulk seeing this, it really took him back to his roots, because that rage from his father lashing out on him as a child, that's the exact rage that formed the Savage Hulk within Banner, along with the gamma radiation that was in him from birth. Years before the gamma explosion actually manifested the Savage Hulk in his physical form. And when he sees this, it just pulls him back into that childhood place of rage and pain. But here's where it gets interesting, because it's here where Joe Fixit, he jumps back to the forefront, and in a kind of way just saving Savage Hulk again, because right now it's really just the two of these guys. And on top of that, like keep in mind, like every Hulk serves a purpose for Bruce Banner, because Savage Hulk, he's like your manifestation of rage. He smashes things because Bruce would also smash things when he got angry as a child, which in many ways was following the example of his father. But then over the course of time, your Devil Hulk started to develop, and this identity created by Bruce, it was an identity crafted after the father that Bruce wished he had, being that a father that loved him and one who would do absolutely anything to protect him. But now with Devil Hulk out of the picture, that role has kind of fallen to Joe Fixit, whose role prior to this point has really just been the fixer. And now with him not having a Hulk-like form, he still very much plays that same role, but more recently he's been a bit more smarter with it, and primarily because he's not quite as strong as he was as the Grey Hulk, and for that reason he flexes his brain more than anything else. But when this happens, the two cops from earlier, they then arrive at the store, bonded with the symbiote from earlier, and I can't help but thinking about the symbiote bonding to them, and then hopping in the car, adjusting the mirrors, driving all the way down here, and stopping at red lights and using turning signals and all that. And I'm not saying that's exactly how it went down, but it could've. But by the time that this Grendel gets inside, Joe Fixit is kind of hidden away and he just looks ready. And when you see him just chilling there with the candle lighter, just twirling it around with the bunny slippers on, like you just know he got a plan. And with the way that the symbiote kind of creeps in with the two cops inside of it, like for whatever reason my mind just kind of thinks of Home Alone. With Joe Fixit is like your Macaulay Culkin, and the two-headed symbiote is like those crooks that try to get in the house. Because when they come looking for Joe, like he's ready. And when it walks in, he just blasts the stereo, which peels the symbiote off of these guys, and they're only bones at this point. But I think it's also interesting, like the choice of song that Joe had used, which is called Believe in Father by Greg Lake, for a couple reasons. Because there's a part of the song that says, "and the peal of a bell and that Christmas tree smell," which isn't the part at 2 minutes and 7 seconds like what Joe had played here. But nonetheless, I thought the peel of the bell part was interesting, with the symbiotes being peeled off of these guys' bones. Not to mention like the song title, Believe in Father, which once again just makes me think of like how Joe Fixit is taking the place of Devil Hulk and really just being there for the big guy, which is really huge, especially with the way that Joe had recently went off on Savage Hulk, which really makes us feel like Joe's way of saying, okay, my bad big guy, I got your back. And much like with Alpha Flight, when Savage Hulk was too hurt to get out, Joe fixed it. And then when he was being clobbered by the Thing, Joe jumped in front of that punch and he fixed it. And here, once again, when Savage Hulk had a bit of a breakdown and he more or less retreated back inside, Joe fixed it. And when Joe just burns the symbiote with like the callous look in his eyes, it just feels like once again he's stepping into that role of the Devil Hulk. And with doing this, it's really like an expression of love to Savage Hulk, because right after when he allows the Savage Hulk to come back to the surface, it's almost like he's given the Savage Hulk the gift of a childhood Christmas that he had never had. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let me know some of your interpretations of this issue without words, either in the comments here or over on Discord. Because I really feel like this is one of those issues where everybody's gonna get something different out of it. But let me know what you guys think, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.